Get ready to uncover the secret behind the sparks in your sockets. From your fridge humming along to your computer buzzing with life, it's all thanks to that trusty outlet. But have you ever stopped to think about where this magic power comes from? The epicenter of electricity is actually power plants, massive machines housing incredible generators. And guess what fuels them? Steam, which is essentially heat turned into motion. This same thermal energy lets us boil water in our electric kettles in just a couple of minutes. Talk about power to the people. Let's dive into the real cost of keeping the lights on, literally. You might think, hey, why not just generate my own electricity at home and save some cash? Sounds like a genius idea, right? Well, unfortunately, it's not that easy. The truth is, many folks have attempted to build their own mini power plants over the years, but more often than not, things don't go according to plan. So, what makes generating your own electricity at home such a challenging feat? Get ready for some serious wow factor, because we're about to take it to the next level. But first, let's acknowledge that attempting to build our own power plant isn't just a wild dream. People have actually lost their lives trying to do so. So, no, we won't be taking that route today. Instead, we'll aim way higher. Imagine setting up a nuclear reactor on a deserted island and throwing the wildest party ever, a nuclear party. Sounds crazy, right? But here's the kicker. In 2020, an incredible young genius named Jackson Oswald made headlines worldwide when he built his very own Farnsworth fuser at home. This remarkable device lets you control thermonuclear reactions, and trust us, it's no small feat to pull off. So, what exactly is a Farnsworth fuser, and how did this 12-year-old prodigy manage to create it on a budget? Now, let's dive into Jackson Oswald's jaw-dropping project, building a Farnsworth fuser at just 12 years old. This ambitious undertaking cost thousands and took 2 years to complete, with many parts sourced from eBay. But here's the thing, did this young physicist actually light up his home for years with his nuclear reactor? Spoiler alert, it turns out that more energy was used in building the thing than it could ever hope to generate. It's time to set the record straight about something important. Just because we're talking about nuclear reactions, that doesn't mean we're discussing fusion and decay as one and the same. There's a major difference between these two phenomena, and understanding what they are will get us ready for our own nuclear adventure. Let's break down what makes Jackson Oswald's Farnsworth fuser so cool. It can actually turn lighter atoms into heavier ones through nuclear synthesis. But here's the difference in nuclear decay, which we get a lot of use out of for electricity. It's all about breaking those heavy nuclei down into smaller parts. Now, while humans have gotten pretty good at harnessing that energy, making the process go the other way combining atoms to create something new is still super tough. And here's why scientists think nuclear fusion is the ultimate game changer. If we can crack it, it could give us nearly unlimited clean energy. But before we get our hopes up, let's be real. There isn't yet a thermonuclear reactor that you can plug into your home and call it a day. Now let's talk about what it takes for a reactor to be considered a real winner, meeting the Lawson criterion. Simply put, if a reactor can't produce more juice than it needs to run itself, it's not cutting it. And guess what? Not even one of those fancy fusers has hit this mark yet. They're just burning through cash and not giving us anything back in return. But here's the thing, when 14-year-old Taylor Wilson made his own mini reactor, some people thought maybe a kid genius would crack the code soon. And now, after Jackson Oswald joined the club, we can pretty much bet that it won't be long before an even younger whiz kid builds another one. Meanwhile, David Hahn, aka the radioactive Boy Scout, had a different approach. Instead of trying to change the world, he just wanted some free energy for his own home. You won't believe what David Hahn, aka the radioactive Boy Scout, did. He built a full-on nuclear reactor in his barn. But here's the thing, he couldn't just buy all the super rare elements he needed, so he got creative. Americium-241. No problem. He found it in old smoke detectors that didn't work anymore, scooping them up for just each from a company that had tons to spare. And as for radium, well, you could say David was a real treasure hunter. He rooted through the local dump until he scored an old watch with glow-in-the-dark hands, scoring his much-needed radium in the process. The radium, it's actually hidden in a teensy amount within glow-in-the-dark paint. Who knew that tiny ingredient could be so valuable? But when it comes to uranium, things get even trickier. You just can't buy it off the shelf, period. So what does our radioactive Boy Scout do? He convinces everyone he's a big shot prof of physics and scams his way into ordering some from a company in Czechoslovakia. Talk about bold. In the end, though, David's nuclear dream didn't quite power up. His reactor stayed very much shut down. But here's where things start to go from bad to worse. David's nuclear experiment not only didn't produce energy like he'd hoped, but also left his neighborhood in a seriously toxic mess. Radiation levels were spiking alarmingly just a few blocks away from his lab, and that was when the project got shut down for real. Now, you might think our radioactive Boy Scout would have been smart enough to ditch all those radioactive goodies deep into the woods. But David had other plans, or rather, the cops did. He got busted on his way out, and things only got worse. The authorities discovered that his makeshift lab was a hot zone with radiation levels a whopping 1,000 times higher than allowed. Fast forward to David's story 22 years later, and we find out that Han didn't die from radiation poisoning like you might have expected, but from something much more surprising: alcohol poisoning. Now, here's the takeaway. Building a nuclear reactor is not a DI project. Unless you're a pro with a nuclear power plant background, you're playing with fire, else, or should I say, radioactive material. But that can wreak havoc on people and our planet. But life sometimes calls for desperate measures, right? Picture this: you're on a tiny vessel cruising through the vast Pacific Ocean, packed with old computers and tritium capsules. Tritium's the real deal. It helps create low-voltage power and even lights up device displays. But just as you're enjoying the open sea, disaster strikes, a massive storm rolls in, leaving your team helpless to steer the ship. With one final crash into a rocky outcrop, your vessel starts taking on water, and there's no escape. The end is near. As panic begins to set in, you manage to grab crucial containers holding reactor parts amidst the shipwreck chaos. You squeeze under the partially submerged wreckage and wait for what feels like an eternity, until your makeshift raft finally washes ashore. Gaining your strength back on solid ground, you scan your surroundings, only to discover that you've been stranded on a deserted island in the middle of nowhere. But here's where things take a turn. You start thinking, and a spark of ingenuity ignites within you as a clever plan starts to form. Now that you've got your island bearings, it's time to think survival and getting rescued. Your crazy plan, harnessing the power of science to send out an SOS. You're going to cobble together a nuclear reactor using whatever materials you can find, and then use its energy to fuel a laser beam blasting a distress signal into the night sky. A passing helicopter just might spot that beam and come to your rescue. Of course, we won't be building a full-on nuclear power plant here, but we can make do with tritium capsules, which aren't as pricey as you'd think. You can even order them online for about $10 each. That's the beauty of science. It's not just for pros, and it could literally save your life. All right, let's dive into this project. First things first, handling that tritium capsule with care. We don't want any accidents that could expose us to radiation or worse, melt the contents and render it useless. Remember, our goal is to harness the energy from its decay, not become a human lab experiment. Now, here's where things get interesting. We'll need to convert this radioactive juice into electricity. To do that, we'll connect our tritium-powered system to a solar panel. Think of it like a high-tech, mini power plant. The tritium fuels the energy production, and the solar panel helps us collect and store that energy for later use. It's all about creating a sustainable, off-grid setup in this island survival scenario. You might not believe it, but that tiny tritium capsule can actually be found in some calculators. Talk about having nuclear power at your fingertips. However, we need to get creative with some makeshift tools from around our survival shelter. To guide those beta particles towards the solar panel, we'll wrap the capsule in aluminum foil. This will help channel them in a more controlled direction. Now, let's repurpose an old pair of glasses, if you're wearing any, by carefully removing the lenses and using them as mini lenses to focus that beta particle beam onto our solar panel. It might sound like science fiction, but trust me, it's all about utilizing what we have on hand in this island survival scenario. To keep our DI nuclear solar panel generator intact, let's build it inside a sturdy cardboard box. This will protect all the components and ensure that everything stays in place. Now, we'll take those wires from the solar panel and connect them to our computer board. Make sure not to mix up any of those tiny connections. Once connected, let's give it some time for the battery to charge up. About a minute should do it. As you wait, keep an eye on that LED. When it starts lighting up, you'll know our low-power solar panel is working. Although this tiny power source isn't enough to send out any rescue signals just yet, we're off to a fantastic start. But here's the million-dollar question: how can we turn scrap materials into a more powerful laser for an SOS signal? The journey continues. Let's break down our current power sources. That tiny tritium reactor packs just 7 milliwatts of punch. If we had a dozen of these, it'd take about 2 decades to fully recharge your smartphone. Now, if we're aiming for a more powerful laser at 300 milliwatts, we're talking about building no less than 3 mini nuclear reactors. Talk about scaling up. Okay, let's get back on track with the laser itself. Scoring through those computer parts, you might find an old illuminated pointer from China, a broken floppy drive, and some discarded printed circuit boards. Think of these as raw materials for our DI project. What can we create using these pieces? Now that we've got our parts sorted out, let's see if we can breathe life into this old Chinese pointer module. By carefully extracting the red laser diode from the floppy drive and pairing it with a lens, along with the right printed circuit board, we might just have ourselves a seriously powerful laser. We're talking high-energy beams here. All it needs is the correct current to ignite. Once our setup's complete, we'll connect it to our 3 mini nuclear reactors. After days of tireless tinkering, the moment of truth finally arrives. As night descends, providing us with optimal viewing conditions, we crank up the reactor power and watch in awe as a brilliant red beam shoots straight for the sky, lasting just 1 magical second. Now that we've unleashed our powerful laser into the night sky, remember, this ain't no toy. Keep those hands away. It's strong enough to ignite matches or burn through lightweight materials. And please, if any furry friends like our monkey paws are around, make sure not to point this beam at their peepers. We don't want any accidental blindness on our watch. But the real magic happens when a rescue helicopter spots that fiery red streak flying across the sky and decides to investigate. A few hours later, as day breaks into night, our island is suddenly filled with the sound of choppers. Looks like our laser has just lit up not only the heavens, but also a beacon of hope for a successful rescue. Oh, it's finally happening. The rescue team has landed, and I couldn't be more stoked to see living, breathing humans on our island. Hold up, friends, no need to take off just yet. Why don't we throw an epic party instead? With the power of that tritium reactor at our disposal, we can turn this place into a vibrant dance floor. We'll blast some infectious tunes and create an unforgettable atmosphere with lights so bright you'll feel like you're in a futuristic rave. I'm talking strobes made from recycled computer LEDs. Think of it as upcycling for the win, and get ready to feel those bass lines like never before, because we've rigged up an insane subwoofer using a speaker and some crafty woodworking skills. This thing's gonna rumble your bones in the best way possible. Let's celebrate our survival with the best party this island has ever seen, and who knows, maybe these rescuers will even want to join us for a dance or two. Wait, my heart just skipped a beat. Amidst all this partying fun, I'm hit with a harsh reality check. We forgot to cool down the tritium reactor. It's running hot, and I can feel the sweat dripping down my face as panic starts to set in. That 300 milliwatt behemoth of ours is actually a cluster of 3 smaller reactors, and if it overloads, well, let's just say our island party could turn into a catastrophic nightmare. A meltdown would release unimaginable energy, and we're talking total destruction on a massive scale. The entire island could be gone in an instant. But here's the thing, there's still hope. If we can act fast, maybe we can divert some of that excess heat using our makeshift cooling system, or even improvise something new. We need to think, and think fast. The music may have stopped, but our survival is what matters now. Let's get to work and keep this party from turning into a disaster zone. Comment, "Hey everyone," quick reminder before I wrap up today's video. Please don't attempt to build or even think about building a